welcome back. And we're moving into our first conversation for today, looking at a scholarship opportunity available in Belize, one that many Belizeans have benefited from. And we're going to get the details about the application period that is now open. We have with us two representatives of the Alumni Association, the Chevening Alumni Belize. We have the chair, Carmencita Sosa. And on the end, we have Duncan, who's a member. And right in the middle, we have Deputy High Commissioner, of course, from the British High Commission in Belize. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you all for being here. Okay, so of course, we want to start off with just a bit of a background on the Chevening Scholarship and its prestige as well. So let's start with that.
Okay, well, first of all, let me thank Carmencita and Brian for joining me on the sofa this morning. An important part of Chevening is the alumni. But Chevening itself has been running since 1983, and Belizeans have been part of that program since 1986. Now, we've sent around 100 scholars to the UK in that time, and what we're hoping to do is send even more. So the application round opened on the 7th of August, and will run through to the 7th of November. Now, what we would encourage people to do is not wait until the 7th of November to submit their application, because it closes at 12 o'clock UK time, which of course is the early hours here in Belize. So the application itself is done all online. So what I would encourage people to do is to go to www.chevening.org, where all the information you need is there.
Now, of course, this has been a scholarship, as you pointed out, that many Belizeans have benefited from, but not just Belizeans. You have people across the globe that apply for these particular scholarships. What was the original intent in being able to bring all these international students for graduate level studies?
Yeah. No, you're right. It's about 160 countries worldwide. Not places like the US and Europe, because obviously they have a much more developed system. But it's basically to bring people back, so people who are going to be future decision makers, influencers, and leaders, basically, who bringing them back to the UK to get an understanding of what the UK is about, research the topics that they're interested in there, find out what expertise is in the UK, that eventually when they go back to their country of origin, they'll be able to say, the UK could be my partner of choice in the future. So it's to build the relationship between these countries and the UK, and just basically showcase what the UK can do.
Well, we have Carmencita and Brian to be able to share their particular experience. Tell me what you studied and when you went under the Chevening Scholarship.
I went on a Chevening Scholarship in 2013, so it was for the academic year 2013-2014, and I studied a Master's of Law in International Corporate Governance, Financial Regulations, and Economic Law at the Institute of Advanced Legal Study, which is one of the institutes within the University of London.
Now, what prompted you, I mean, Belizeans or students are generally always looking for scholarships, but what prompted you to apply for this particular scholarship?
Because of its prestige, because of the fact that I know that it focuses a lot on you as an individual. There aren't any other influences aside from what you bring to the table, which we are aware that other scholarships do. So that adds to the prestige and to the value of the scholarship.
And your experience, Brian?
My experience in UK was fantastic. I always describe it as probably the best year of my life so far, and it basically has to do with the fact that it was holistic, in that it was academic, it was cultural. I made friends with so many people from across the world, and we still maintain that contact, but we also develop friendships with those who are in the UK. Like, I work at the Central Bank, and within my program, well, Carmen and I studied the same program. I went the year after Carmen, and Carmen was my mentor, and we developed friendship with people who were in our program who actually worked at the Bank of England. And so you have that network, that connection, and throughout the region. So it was a holistic experience, and it was a great one for me. And I hope other Belizeans would get that opportunity.
Now, were you aiming for this particular scholarship? And what would be your reasons why?
Well, it would be similar to what Carmen had described, just the prestige of the scholarship, the fact that it was in UK based, because after I had finished my bachelor's program, I said that given my field of work, I wanted an experience in a leading financial center in the world, and I focused on that. And the scholarship is fully funded. I mean, that's a plus, a benefit in itself.
Yeah.
And it was just the total package, because it offered more than just paying for academic studies, but rather the scholarship also provides opportunities for you to visit throughout the UK, build that network with people who are on a scholarship from the 160 different territories that they offer it to.
Now, one of the benefits of applying for this particular scholarship is that you're not limited to particular areas of study. That's the case, right?
That's right, yes.
So, how does one decide which school they'll go to, what program they can apply for?
I think the main thing is to do your research. You know, one of the huge advantages of Chevening is that you can apply to absolutely any university in the UK that will accept you, basically. And it's a 1-year master's course. That's something that's worth bearing in mind. It's just for the 1 year. So it's quite hard work, but I think in terms of deciding is basically doing your research. So what are you interested in? What universities offer the best course that you would like to do? When you're applying for Chevening, we encourage you to apply to 3 different universities. So, you know, you can pick 3 different universities across the whole of the UK. They don't all have to be in London or all have to be in Edinburgh in Scotland. So do your research, find out which universities offer what you like, and then apply to the 3 universities that attract you most. Ultimately, what you're aiming for is an unconditional offer, which by sort of July next year you have to have, but otherwise you can't go forward for Chevening. So think sensibly, don't apply to universities where you think you're not going to achieve that. So do your research, think about what it is you want to study, and focus on areas that you think you're going to be successful in.
Now, tell us about some of the persons who have benefited from the Chevening Scholarship and where they are today. I know that's one of the areas you can boast about, right?
That's right, no, absolutely. I mean, there are leaders and influencers all across the globe, but in terms of Belize, Nesta Mendez, who's the Deputy Secretary General in the OAS. So, you know, he's a former Chevening scholar and now doing great things for Belize and for the OAS. Obviously, former CEOs from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So you've got Lauren Sylvester and Alexis Rosado. So these are people who have managed to influence the way Belize is shaped, and so and now we have people like Brian coming along and Carmencita coming along. You know, there's quite a few people from Belize who have made a difference. Obviously, you've got
quite a number of
Anne-Marie
persons,
Smith as well, who's doing great things with women.
Janelle, Alyssa, Andrea Polanco, several people who passed
the
through
list
Channel 5.
is long.
Yeah. Now, and I wanted to touch on that specifically because this would obviously mean that your application process also included some sort of assessment as to leadership skills, or perhaps willingness to be able to return home and contribute towards the development of the country. Is that the case?
No, it's definitely the case. I mean, the biggest sort of interaction with us is when we do the interviewing, but before that you have an application form to complete, and in there you have to talk about your leadership skills, what it is that you think are your great qualities of being a leader. You also have to talk about networking. Networking is one of the key things about Chevening. I mean, there's 48,000 alumni across the world that you can network with. And as Brian already mentioned, you know, when you're in the UK, you're not just meeting up with your fellow Belizeans who've gone with you. There's from 160 different countries. So you've got from sort of, you know, a real stretch across the globe of people that you can interact with. And people who you stay in touch with when you come back. So for example, let's say you meet a Ghanaian when you're there, and he's done something in Ghana that you think, actually, we could do that here in Belize, and you can exchange that information, or you know, something Brian's done here with banking that perhaps he could help the Ghanaian with. So it's a real exchange of information. So it's understanding what networking is. So when you come to the interview, understand what Chevening is. It's really important. We want you to understand that it's a prestigious scholarship, the aims of the scholarship, what it's about. We want you to understand what networking is all about. Most people come and they do, but some come and they have no idea what networking is. So those are sort of 2 key areas. And then a bit about what you're studying, where you're going to study, a bit about what it is you want to achieve. And of course, as you say, coming back to Belize, we expect the scholars to come back and give at least 2 years back to Belize before they
What would you say are the main criterias for someone to be able to receive a scholarship? Is it purely academic, or is it necessary to have the other skill sets that you're talking about?
It's essential to have all the skills. When we're interviewing, we're looking for people who understand what Chevening is, that they know what networking is, and they've used it effectively in their current role and are planning to use it effectively in their future role, that they understand the subject that they're going to study and what benefit it could bring back to Belize. So, you know, we've had people from archaeology, and they've explained to us where they expect to take archaeology in the future. And so those are the kind of things that will help make a successful application.
So, Carmencita and Brian, tell us your experience. How rigid was the application process?
For me, I think that I was a latecomer. I wasn't aware of when the application process had started. I know someone had prompted me. They said, you know, you're interested in a scholarship. There's this opportunity. I researched it. At the time, my understanding was that the application process had closed. So I started my application probably late in December because I needed to have submitted my application by New Year's Day. So I started my application very late, but I was committed and I was very disciplined. So I put a lot of my time and my effort in making sure that I completed the application in a way that I would meet the deadline. I remember I was working on my personal statement on the 31st of December to make sure I slept not for a bit, and I made sure that by midnight, New Year's, I had submitted my application, and it was worth it. That was my gift for that year, and it was an extremely wonderful experience.
Right. Well, my process in terms of the application, I had researched various universities that I wanted to attend based on the programs. So I had that groundwork there already. Throughout the process, I believe the most challenging was actually getting references, because I did my bachelor's degree outside, and you have to be able to get that reference. So for me, that was the most challenging part, and I think new applicants need to be considered these factors. And as we went along with the actual application process, I recall that night I was working on it, and I was finished with my essay, and I forgot to save, and I clicked the close button, and I was like, this is going to drive me crazy, and I had to start all over, but I was able to get through it, and I think the interview process went fine as long as you prepare. We're looking for people who actually are cognizant of the things affecting our country or world. So once you keep abreast of these matters, I think the entire interview process, which I believe could be a little bit nervous for various applicants.
But in terms of the interview, the actual interview, it's very much like this setting. You have a panel of 3. It's very casual. I know that it was nerve-wracking, but once I went through that door and it opened up, it went quite smoothly.
I think it's fair to say we're not there to intimidate people when we're interviewing them. We actually want to hear what they've got to say. We want to hear what they've written in their application. We've read them, we know what they've said in there. What we want to know is this what they believe? And so our job on the panel side is to try and make people relax so that they can do that. People do come in very nervous, and I'm hoping that by the time they leave, they're feeling a bit more relaxed. And that they've been able to say what they want to say, because ultimately that's what we
So it's almost like delivering your personal mission and vision within the interview itself. How important is a global perspective? I would imagine that understanding what's happening locally is important, but a global perspective as well?
A global perspective is important because obviously you need to understand what it is you want to achieve and how you're going to do that here, and understanding what's happening outside the world is important. But what ultimately Chevening is trying to do is to help Belize. So we want the scholars to come back and give back to Belize and help to improve areas that need improving.
So the application period is now open, and we do have to let people know that it is for a 1-year master's program, and it would essentially be starting for the next academic year. So you're applying for next year, and obviously Brian has given some great hints there. You may have some time delays in getting some of your references or whatever else is necessary. So start early.
Can't stress that enough. Start. Don't wait until November to think, I'll start in November. Start now. Do your research now. Look at what you need to do now, look at the online, the www.chevening.org site, and see exactly what it is that you need to do now.
And what about people who perhaps feel intimidated, that they have the grades, but maybe they've been a bit shy in social interactions or in even working with organizations or the wider community? Should they still take a chance?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the thing is, if you feel that you have what it takes after you've read the information on the website, please apply. You know, it's not just for extroverts, it's for anyone. It's for anyone who thinks they can be a leader, an influencer, a decision maker, someone who's going to make a difference to Belize. Now, what I would say to those who are a bit reticent at coming forward, who are maybe not sure, is that we now have a fantastic Chevening alumni, and I'm looking at the two people on either side of me, who are there to help people understand. So maybe I'll just hand over to Carmencita and Brian to explain a little bit more about what they're doing on that side.
So the Chevening Alumni was recently established. It's the first formal executive committee for Chevening Belize. It's a group of seven dynamic people, I would say. I think one of the biggest things that describes us as a group is our commitment. Our commitment to the scholarship process, to promoting it, and also our commitment to the alumni and our commitment to Belize, ideally. What we want to do as a Chevening alumni is to be able to create a think tank where we could pull all the expertise from the people who've come back with specialized fields and to lead discussions on issues that are affecting Belize and influence policy making, ideally. In terms of the application process that's open right now, we have opened a Gmail account, cheveningbelize@gmail.com. So for all those people who are interested in applying for this scholarship, you can reach out to the alumni via that email account. So it's cheveningbelize@gmail.com. Feed us your questions, your fears, whatever it is that you know.
Perhaps even help in selecting schools or locations that will be best fit for them.
Exactly. When you start your application process, there is a list of all the universities in the UK. So it makes your application process, it makes your research far easier because you don't have to be Googling all these universities. They're right there for you. So we invite everyone who's interested to apply and come back and try to make a difference in Belize. So in terms of the Alumni Association and what we can do is simply, invite people to send us an email, and we'll be, we're one of our roles is to serve as mentors and to assist people throughout the application process. So come forward, and we're here willing to assist you.
Well, there's no reason they shouldn't try, but we know sometimes people talk themselves out of things.
Don't limit yourselves. This is a very good opportunity, and step out for it and apply. That's what we do.
And I would also encourage people who are perhaps not interested in doing a Chevening scholarship themselves, but know people who do, or who would be a great fit, to encourage them, to encourage others to apply. Because one of the things that we would love to have is even more applications, so that we can pick from a good field of candidates to.
And there are as many as 7 scholarships this year.
This year we are sending, I'm very pleased to say, we're sending 7 people back to the UK. So we're looking forward. They're in the process now of just pulling their last bits together, getting their visas sorted out, because you do need a visa if you're going to study in the UK. And hopefully they'll all be off very shortly back to the UK with to start their year.
And all varying fields of study.
All varying fields of study, Nice. This year perhaps more diverse than in other years, so it's quite an exciting time.
Now, you're not sure how many of this current application period will receive a scholarship next year.
At the moment, we try and work on the basis, if we've sent 7 this year, potentially we will send 7 next year. But it does vary from year to year, depending on the number of scholarships that are awarded, and also on partnerships, because quite a lot of the universities in the UK partner with Chevening to offer sort of a reduced rate on the university fees. So there's a lot of variance, so it does vary from year to year. But 7 this year, I would hope 7 next year, but I can't promise
Or more.
anything. More would be great. Well, we sent 11 last year,
Yeah.
so 11 to 7 I think is okay. So
Yeah. Now, what are some of the basic qualifying criteria?
So, I mean, basic qualifying criteria is they have to have a bachelor's degree.
Yes.
And they have to have at least 2 years work experience to before they can apply.
Okay.
So we do go around the universities and the schools and we tell them about Chevening, but we're quite clear that we're not looking for people who've just come out of university because they won't have the work experience that we're looking for. And also, it's much better to have a bit of experience of life and work before you apply for Chevening so you can get the maximum benefit. So we want people to know about Chevening now. So that's for all ages, but really we're looking for people who have done their degree, they've come out, they've done a bit of work experience out here in Belize, and then they'd be eligible to apply.
So they're very clear in what they want to pursue.
Yeah, exactly, yes.
And maybe you can expand a little bit more in terms of the 2 years work experience, because a lot of applicants feel like it needs to be like a 2 years consecutive work experience.
No, you're absolutely right. So it's 2 years altogether. So it can be voluntary work that you've done as well as sort of paid work that you've done. But it doesn't all have to be a consecutive 2-year period. It's just what they're looking at is the number of hours that you've actually been out there in sort of industry or workplace.
Yeah.
So you're quite right. Yes, it's not all.
Internships also.
Internships. So it's internships, voluntary work, and then obviously.
And actually
normal paid.
part-time jobs that would
Part-time jobs,
accumulate
yep.
to 2 years.
So basically, it's about, I can't remember the number of hours, but there's a certain number of hours that you have to have done.
Is there an age limit?
There's no age limit,
Oh.
other than, of course, if you've not got your degree, you can't apply. But no, there's no age limits, and we've had people applying from sort of 18 right through to, I think our oldest one was about 44. So there's no age limit. You could be 65 and still apply for Chevening. If you can, convince us that what you're planning to do is make Belize better, then there's no reason why not. There's no age limit.
Now, we've spoken before about trying to formalize the Chevening scholars when they come back.
Yep.
And obviously the establishment of Chevening Alumni Belize is a great step in that direction. Now, you've both spoken about being able to make contact with persons outside of Belize, and they went through the same process, had to meet the same criteria of possessing leadership qualities. What do you think that your alumni association can contribute to the wider society? What are your hopes? I hear that you want to help with the scholarship application, but you've also gotten exposure to leaders from across the world, and this opportunity that has helped to build you as well as a leader.
One of the biggest, again, that adds value to this whole Chevening experience is the fact that you can network. I think networking is one of the key factors attracting people to this scholarship opportunity. Locally, we want to be able to move the alumni in such a way that we can create a difference. But we also know that there are global networks from within the Chevening group. We have the Chevening Connect, which is an online platform where we have members of the alumni who've registered, about 48,000 people so far. I don't know if that's the right number that have registered.
There's about 5,000 that have actually registered on Connect at the moment.
Okay.
But it's a fairly new platform, and they're just building on that year on year. So we encourage our scholars that are coming back now, and alumni, as they'll turn into alumni once they come back, to join Chevening Connect.
Chevening Connect is that platform where we can reach out to other Chevening alumni and connect and try to figure out how we can bring them in, use their expertise to also assist us in probably starting forums here in Belize. And we also have that opportunity to go abroad and share in their Chevening experience and what they're doing now in their countries and how we can benefit through those opportunities. And it's an opportunity that's open to all Chevening alumni across the world.
That's right.
And I think that think tank that we mentioned earlier, I think that is something we want to promote in Belize so that we could discuss on important issues from an objective standpoint and pool the expertise that we have from the alumni and hopefully connect with those who are outside in other countries who might have had similar experiences and then see how we could build that here in Belize and hopefully educate our people even more.
Yeah, and you're such a diverse set of professionals.
Right. Exactly. It's multidisciplinary. Yeah. When you go through the list of people who've benefited from that scholarship here in Belize, the fields, the areas of studies, the specializations, it's so valuable.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the way we're contributing right now, we might not all be on the forefront like the people who've mentioned, et cetera. But wherever we are, I'm sure that we are contributing.
I think that's an important point that you've raised, is that you don't have to come back and be someone who's going to be standing up in the media, a minister who's going to be, who clearly have great influence. Yeah. But you can be someone who's influencing in the background. So, people out there who think, well, I really don't want to be up front and up there. And, that's not necessarily what Chevening is about. It's for people who can influence, and you can influence in many ways. So
many ways.
For the people who don't want to be up there, you apply as well.
Yeah, well, we were only part of our Channel 5 personnel who passed through, but you're right. There are many people who work within institutions who are making a very big difference, not necessarily with all the press conferences that you'd expect. But, I think what it underscores is how this can be an opportunity for persons to not just gain higher education, but to also build a connection with persons locally and outside to benefit them and, of course, by extension, the country. So let's talk once again now. We're talking to people now who are fearful of being so far away from home. Some people really do have that concern. What would you say about adapting to life in the UK and about even the workload that they would be about to undertake in their academic pursuit?
Okay. Well, we noticed that over the last few application period that most of the applicants are from the Cayo and Belize district.
Yeah.
And we are hoping that we widen that scope so we have a wider selection, and that in itself might pose a bit challenge because people might be fearful if they have not been outside of the country or if they have not left their families for an extended period of time. And for that we have the Alumni Association who provides that mentorship. They are not going alone, so it'll be a group of Belizeans, so automatically they will have that connection. And when you go to the UK to study, just like any other country, there are people there from other territories as well who this experience might be new for them. So they automatically build that connection. And then with the internet, of course, it's so much easier to remain connected with your family. So it shouldn't be that terrifying for them. But if it is, then there's so many opportunities for them to get past that and advance themselves and look at it as an opportunity to advance both their families as well and the country. So.
And then you also you always have the Chevening Secretariat at your disposal to assist you in the process, in the adaptation process. You have an officer who is your sort of mentor and the one who guides you throughout the time that you'll be in the UK. So you're not alone.
So you have,
that's a great point.
You have a Chevening liaison officer who, as soon as you are told that you've been successful, will then engage with you and take you through the process of what you do before you arrive in the UK, what you'll need to do when you're in the UK. I mean, obviously it's in Chevening's interest to make sure that people who are coming are happy, they're comfortable, that they're able to do the studies that they need to do. So there's a lot of work put into making sure that people are comfortable and happy when they're there.
And there's also the opportunity for an orientation session, which is one of the things that we want to do as an alumni for the group that's selected. Have an orientation session before they leave, tell them about our experience, what to look forward to, where to go or not to go, etc., based on our experiences.
How to budget.
Based on our experiences. So I think that also adds to, being comfortable in traveling.
You asked about the workload.
Yes.
Well, it's a postgraduate degree, and people need to be cognizant of the fact that they will need to put in their efforts. From my experience, I had to read a few books every week. It's a lot of work, a lot of reading, and it might seem overwhelming at times. For me, that was the experience for once. I mean, where we can't just speak about all the good part, but there are challenges.
Yeah.
And I recall during my own experience, I was thinking, whoa, did I make a right decision here? This workload is just tremendous. But you're able to get over that, and I think that is important. But then, when you're going for a postgraduate degree, you're supposed to select something that you're passionate about. And as long as you're passionate about it and you could see the long-term goal that you want to achieve, then that should be a form of encouragement. So the workload would just be there, but you're like, oh, I'm going to dig into this and I'm going to get going. So it's manageable.
Okay.
I think it's fair to say, and you're right, the workload is tremendous. So to be, to go in with your eyes open.
This is not a fun year well, you can have fun,
That's
but it's
right.
not all fun.
But it's work too.
Yeah.
But I think, as Brian said, nearly all our Chevening alumni that go are passionate about what they do. And as far as I'm aware, there's not been one that hasn't passed their course. So it's definitely achievable.
Fantastic. So once again, the application period is now open until November 7th. And there's a specific website that you apply. It's
www.chevening.org.
Okay, and once you go online, you'll be able to find the information. And for additional assistance, you can reach out to the Alumni Association at Chevening Belize
At
gmail.com.
Correct.
Anything else you'd like to say to potential applicants at this time?
Apply, first of all. Do your research early, apply early. Please don't wait to November 7th when it closes. It happened one year and the system crashed, and people who applied didn't get through. So apply early, do it now, and good luck.
All right. Well, thank you all for coming in and sharing your individual experiences. And once again, how much this program has contributed towards many persons in Belize, and so many people can still benefit from it. So thank you. That website, once again, so we don't forget, is www.chevening.org. Right? We're going to go ahead now and take a break. And when we come back, we'll be talking about Beltrade's talent fair. So stay tuned.